Just listening to Unai Emery at the end there and post-match, and also his demeanour, what did you think? Was he being realistic, or was it a sign of defeatism? I wonder what the Villa fan think. Gus, good morning. You've been waiting patiently. What do you think?
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Stuart and Simon.
Morning.
Right. Are Villa going to win the league? No. Are they going to have a big say in who does? Yes. I think throughout the season, Unai has been measured and pragmatic and kept a lot of feet on the floor. I think yesterday he probably talked himself into a cul-de-sac, because the one thing he never does, and I love him for it, is he never makes excuses and he never complains. Yeah. And I think he was in a bit of a dead end. I also want to say that PSR was not the reason we didn't beat Everton yesterday. We didn't beat them because we were awful, to be quite honest. But can I just give two examples? So we talked about Arsenal. Now, I went to the Villa Park match at the beginning of December. It's one of the best games of football I've ever seen. Two top-quality teams going at each other, and we were fortunate to get it right at the end. 3 weeks later, we go to the Emirates, as you know, and Stuart's spoken about that. First half was absolutely brilliant, very equal. Half-time, Onana has to go off. We have to replace him with a kid. Second half, as Simon says, Arsenal absolutely completely batter us. The second example is City, who we're level on points with. What have they done this window? They bought Semenyo and Gueye, and what have Villa done? Have had to sell Marlon to try and raise a few million quid to buy someone. A couple of million quid which our owners have got and are willing to spend, but are not allowed to. So, I'm for PSR conceptually. I don't think it should be the Wild West, but the second order consequences of the way it works really does affect clubs that are in our position.
Great call, actually, Gus. We'll listen to you with great interest there. There's Andy in Manchester, Simon. Villa and co voted for PSR, so suck it up. City voted against it and told the other clubs. Andy in Manchester.
And there is an element that is right. I mean, the argument about sustainability is just a silly one, because what is sustainable? Is there anything more sustainable than Newcastle's ownership financially? Is there probably anything more sustainable than Aston Villa's ownership, because they're very well heeled?
Yeah.
So the sustainability side of things is a contradiction in terms, because if you are sustainable and you can prove you're sustainable, then surely that's the argument that people are more concerned about. The argument was that football clubs are put in jeopardy. Well, there's really been none put in jeopardy. The only club that really fell into a real situation was Portsmouth when they dropped out of the Premier League. Right. Most clubs that have been in the Premier League don't have the financial jeopardies that supposedly they need protecting from.
Yeah.
This was about, and has been about a cabal of football clubs that have decided the drawbridge is coming up, and no one's coming coming up to their little wonderful rarefied air. Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and whoever else are in the top six have closed that door behind them. And how can Newcastle and Aston Villa join the game?
John's a Villa fan who's been waiting patiently. John, good morning to you. Where are you at with the way Emery answered or didn't answer that question yesterday? Do you feel Villa will finish top four?
Morning, lads. Great show. Big fan of yours.
Thanks,
I've just got a feeling we might just be coming to a bit of a crunch time in our season, and PSR is playing a massive part. And yesterday Everton, they were brilliant. They come to Villa Park and they kind of battered us a bit. But I disagree with the last caller. PSR, I think, did play a big part, because if it wasn't for PSR, we'd probably have Conor Gallagher. We would have brought him on. Marlon probably would have stayed. So as for a top four finish, if we're lucky, maybe. But I think PSR, it's designed to make clubs like Villa fail, really, because the better you do, the more punishment you get. You get like Chelsea, Man City, they can spend what they want on whoever they want. And the rules are just dead against us. So, but Unai, he's a magician. We all love him.
Yeah.
He's working magic. We're playing some beautiful football.
Sure.
And as a Villa fan, me and the kids, we go every home game, and honestly, it's just been a privilege to watch the last few seasons. And I'm a bit fearful that we might lose him because of this, because we are punching above our weight. We're giving a lot of the big clubs a good hiding when they come to Villa Park. But, this PSI is strangling us. It's killing us.
John, listen, thanks for the call. Thanks for the points you've made. He's saying it's strangling them. Do you recognise that, Simon, in a club like Villa, who've kind of They've done the money.
But it's strangling the spirit of the game. I don't like the idea that you could just buy everything and everyone. I do think there's got to be some degree of governance. But this Premier League was built on globalisation. It was built upon inward investment. It was built upon people pumping money into football clubs to create outcomes. And out of the ether has come this thinking that somehow you've got to control the ramifications of people's expenditure because it leads to massive jeopardy. Well, it doesn't, does it? Because the Premier League in and of itself, the distribution mechanism, there's not enough money paid down to the pyramid. What happens in the EFL and what happens in those situations is a bit bleaker. But we're not talking about the EFL. We're talking about the Premier League. We're talking about the global leader in economics and football around the world. So what is it you think you're doing by shutting the door on inward investments? Because that's what you're doing. You're saying this football club can only be invested in. Why should anyone be told if they want to make it more compliant? They say, right, tell you what, you've got to put £500 million up as a bond to protect this football club. If your mood changes and subsequently you don't want to run this football club anymore, your financial circumstances dictate that you can no longer bankroll it. Then have that argument, right? But to suggest that people can't invest in the evolution of a business to turn it into what they want to turn it into. I mean, the biggest one, probably, not that I have any empathy with it, but the biggest one is Newcastle. I mean, I don't want nation states owning our football club, but in the event that they've been allowed to, and put behind some, Chinese wall if they don't communicate with the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which we all know is a load of old pony, but the fact of the matter is they've dressed it up to the Premier League. Why shouldn't they? Why should Liverpool and Arsenal and Manchester City, and specifically Man City and Chelsea, be only big football clubs? Now, with due respect to Man City and the fact that he managed them, because of their timing. Because if Man City now were being bought by Abu Dhabi, they would not be able to go at it the way they did when it was taken over from Tier 1 Archer in 2008, because they'll be subject to the same circumstances that Newcastle are, that Aston Villa are. So how do these guys, besides a miracle season, actually win a Premier League or win a Champions League? They can't. It's nailed down for those that can. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool.
I still think the situation's open to anyone. It's there if you want to.
How?
Well,
That's easy said.
We all sat back and marvelled at the amount of money that Liverpool spent.
Sure.
Where's it got them?
But Liverpool spent that over...
Where's it got them?
Yeah, of course, that's a...
They've got Ekitike, have they? Yeah, and they've got Isak as well, have they?
And so the squad that they assembled prior to that wasn't made out of chopped liver, was it?
No.
When he walked through the door slot, they didn't get a bunch of freebies, did he? He got a bunch of high-paid players and a highly motivated team that spent a lot of money, and he was lucky enough to be able to put it into a league that the other sides were slightly in decline, and Liverpool won the league.
What would you rather have, Simon, the days of Abramovich, where you could do what you want, he did what he wanted and spend what he wanted, or now?
No, I don't think you need to go to extremes. I don't think.
What was a better landscape?
Well, there's a different landscape, because what you wanted to do it's a different landscape. What you wanted to do was find the balance.
What was a better one?
Well, it's not. They're products of their time, aren't they? You've got Chelsea and you've got Manchester City. Do I want it to go to the extremes? Do I like the idea that this ridiculous notion that Pep Guardiola seems to trot out that you don't buy the best teams? Yeah, and it's got nothing to do with coaching. Well, it's much easier to coach when you've got the best bleeding players, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the fact that you can buy Gehi from Crystal Palace, the fact that you can buy Semenya from Bournemouth, might give you a clue as to why Man City are sitting second or third in the league.
Do Villa finish top four?
I think it's an ask for them.
Sure.
They can do, but they've got to keep the form of the players that are actually in the starting 11. And that is a big ask.
Yeah. And next up for Villa next weekend, ironically, a team in a similar financial predicament, Newcastle United at St James's Park.